So I don't want to say that on air, but like I don't think I can eat another cheesy biscuit for the rest of my life.
Is it one of those things like, is it like, not Stockholm Syndrome, that's the other way around, but like when you're around it all the time that now you just can't even look at it?
I think it was the combination of that and like I would eat it when I was hungover because that's what we would eat. Like we'd come in, we'd have like a Saturday morning shift. It was awful, man. Like it was like I would eat like 10 biscuits. So
oh, that's rough. Dude.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even think biscuits are what you would need to soak up a hangover. Like for me, Panda Express was always my go-to. Like, oh, I'm feeling like garbage. Oh, you know about my Panda Express ritual. We'll do a whole episode. Actually, that's probably what we should do is do a whole episode of me during my Panda Express ritual, even though it's counterintuitive because I'm supposed to be alone. But I'll let everybody in. That's I'll tell you about that later. It's pretty funny. Hey, what's up, and welcome to the 50/50 Show, the show where we ask half questions about the integration of sales and marketing and half questions about absolute nonsense. The 50/50 Show is brought to you by JumpCrew, where we help B2B companies acquire more clients. Today's guest is Mr. Cory Miller. Really excited to have you on the show. Thanks for taking some time. You know a little bit about the format of the show because we talked about it before, but during the course of our conversation today, we want to get to know you a little bit better, learn about your role at JumpCrew, learn about your background, talk a little bit about what you've seen change at JumpCrew and also at how that pertains to our clients. And then for the most part, we want to get totally off the rails and talk about stuff that is absolutely ridiculous.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, man. We're glad to have you. As we always do, I'd love to just start by getting just a little bit of background about you, Cory. This is totally open format. Anything that you want me, our audience, people watching to know to help us better understand who you are.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me. I moved to Nashville about a year and a half ago. Lived in Austin, Texas for 8 years. Grew up in the Louisville, Kentucky area. So wanted to get a little closer to home. I'm excited to be in Nashville. It's been a really, really good place for my wife and I to live, and just excited to be at JumpCrew. Started here in May last year, and here I am.
Awesome. Yeah, so you're coming up on your 1 year, and it's amazing. Like we kind of joke about it all the time, but months are like dog years at JumpCrew. They probably go by or feel like they go by a lot slower, feel like a lot longer. You've probably seen a lot change even in less than a full year. Tell us a little bit about what that experience has been like coming in May of 2019 to now almost May of 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. I got here. We were starting the full funnel program, which I'm a part of. And it was really just me and Dan, our colleague, kind of trying to get this thing started. Trying to figure things out, didn't have a lot of processes and tools in place, and trying to figure out who it was that we could identify as a good prospect or a good partnership. And so it was just a learning process. The first few months was just stumbling, trying to figure out, what's the best approach, what's the best solution set for these folks. And over the course of, I guess it's been 10 months or so, we've really found our footing with all of the solutions around the client to enable them to be successful, and it's been really, really great.
Awesome. And for those who don't know, can you describe what full funnel means? It's common terminology for us, but help everybody understand what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. So full funnel, lead generation means so many things to so many people, and to us, full funnel is the combination of brand awareness, lead generation, and outsourced sales. So we provide digital marketing solutions. We also have a full service outsourced sales side of our business. And so whether you're looking to use us for digital marketing to enhance brand awareness, content creation, email marketing, things like that, we can help provide solutions for that. But we also have our outsourced sales side of our business where we actually have active salespeople that are making phone calls, emails, and prospecting through LinkedIn. And then some of our clients use us for all of those solutions. So that's essentially what full funnel is here at JumpCrew.
Yeah, I've kind of thought about it like the entire buying experience for a B2B prospect. Like from the moment that they become aware that your business even exists, all the way up until the point when they say, here's my credit card, take my money, I'm ready to sign up. There's a lot of steps that go in that process, but leading with a digital first selling approach seems to encourage the opt-in for that decision maker to say, hey, I'm actually interested in learning more about this, as opposed to almost, strong arming is a strong word, but strong arming them into just picking up a cold call and trying to convince them in a moment that this is something they should even entertain.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is through the discovery process. One thing I'll say about our program as a whole is it's more tailored to the needs of our clients' business. So we want to get in there, understand what success looks like to them. Many different people through many different verticals view success very differently. And so our job is to get in there and make sure that we understand thoroughly what they're trying to accomplish, and then sort of build our solutions around what they need.
Awesome. And yeah, we're going to dig into that a lot. I'd love to hear some more about like what a day in the life looks like for you. But in the natural format of the 50-50 show, I want to take a little bit of a 180 and just start with a nice little warm-up question that's totally off topic.
Yeah,
we'll ease into it, especially since I'm having a hard time even easing words out of my voice right now with my voice. This episode brought to you by Cepasol as I'm trying to nurse this like rough, raspy voice. So here's an easy one. This is just a softball question, all right? You can only watch one movie and one movie alone for the rest of your life, and that's it. What is that movie?
Wow.
And that's today's episode.
Yes.
Thank you for joining.
I think it would be Catch Me If You Can.
Dude, that's a great movie. That's a great call.
With Leonardo DiCaprio. Love that movie. Can watch it over and over. I can restart the movie and watch it again, and I cannot say that I can do that for very many movies.
Dude, regardless of what the plot is of that movie, you have arguably the two most enjoyable to watch actors going head to head from end to end in that entire movie.
And don't forget Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken's in there as well.
That's the holy trinity of actors right there. That's game over, dude. That's done. That movie's fantastic. Yeah, I was thinking about this question, obviously, before we started. Mine is Jerry Maguire. Have you ever seen that movie with Tom Cruise? It's a classic movie. It has a little bit of like sad angle to it. It's like a drama, but it's a comedy, but it's like feel good. But there's, these intense moments in the movie, the performances. I think Cuba Gooding Jr. won Best Supporting Actor for his role in that movie. And then, of course, what's that kid's name that does the did you know that the human head weighs 8 pounds?
The cutest 8-year-old in the world.
Yeah, that kid was in every movie in the 90s. We were like, we need a cute kid who's 6 years old. We're like, I know who to call.
And he wears glasses.
I've got the perfect kid, dude. Let's give him a buzz. That kid's agent was like, I don't know, we found a niche. Like, let's just stick with it. This kid's working all the time. I actually think I saw a picture of that kid. I'm going to find it, and I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to show the comparison. He was just this cute little chubby kid at the time, and now he's yoked. I think I don't know if he's still acting or not, but he is like a fitness guru. I remember seeing all these pictures of him just shredded. And I was like, that's what happens.
That's a good movie though. Yeah, I like that. All the feels.
Yeah. That movie's fantastic. So I do want to hear a little bit about a day in the life, your role. Yeah. What does that mean? You're kind of in a certain way the gatekeeper of the partnerships that JumpCrew decides to bring on. Mm-hmm. What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a number of things that I'll do during the day. I look at it as I'm moving people through and guiding them through the process of what a partnership looks like with JumpCrew. So there's many touch points that we'll have throughout these partnerships, starting with, what is it that you're looking to accomplish? What sort of revenue goals do you wish to to get to in the first year of a partnership. So a lot of it is more on the discovery side. And then I'm usually taking these people through more of what it looks like to be a partner with JumpCrew, how are we going to service them? What are the team members that we're going to have around them? So it's more about telling them what is it that we can do for them, and then kind of walking them through the process.
And I gotta
that's choppy, but it's that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, it's a good way to distill it down in simple terms. And I gotta imagine that in those conversations, there's probably a lot of the same questions that come up all the time, because a lot of people are thinking about it the same way and probably have a lot of the same concerns. Mm-hmm. What are some of those questions that you're hearing day in and day out, and are probably the main pain points that JumpCrew is here to solve?
Yep.
What are people asking you?
Yeah, I think ramp up. How quickly, if a partnership takes off, how quickly can we get things moving, right? Pricing is always sort of a conversation that you're going to have, right? What sort of ROI can we expect, right? And so these are the types of questions that we'll go through with them. I'm trying to think of some other ones that would come up. Typical term length. How many reps do we get? What is it that they're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis? Are they dedicated to our account? Are they going to be working across other accounts? Are they working remotely? Are they overseas work? So those are some of the top questions I would say come up.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think that we've probably talked about this on the show before, but there's this misconception when you think quote unquote outsourced sales. Like I almost feel like that term has gotten to be really diluted or kind of has like a negative connotation to it, where you're picturing these like beige cubicles in an office with a flickering like fluorescent light, people with headphones on just reading off of a script, just banging out dials, as many as possible, hoping something sticks, like a pit boss walking around behind them, like tapping them on the shoulder if they're behind on their KPIs. Yeah. Is that what it's like here?
No, not at all. Not at all. So we have a lot of support around these folks. And I think one of the major selling points is if you were going to spin up your own internal sales organization, what are the resources that you would need to make that happen? So weekly sales meetings, call shadowing, role playing. We always say in sales, one day you're the bug, one day you're the windshield, right? You've got a good day and you've got a tough day, and I think it's important to have that support system to make sure that, if you're there and you're having a tough day, that we're here to support them, whether it's like, hey, I'm getting this objection and I need some help with it. So we've got some good tools around the support of the client. And I think that comes up a lot.
Great. Yeah, that's helpful context, because those questions are inevitably going to come up, and they should be. Those are the kind of questions you got to ask, because when you build it internally, you feel at least the impulse that you have control over everything. You can manage it. You can keep oversight on it, totally accountable. And so there may be some hesitation to handing it off to somebody else, and those questions naturally come up. One question that doesn't naturally come up that much is, why do you think there's so much interest in the royal family?
Interest in the royal. So I am probably the 1% out there that cares nothing about the royal family. So I don't actually know what the interest is in that.
And it's funny because I actually went back and did a little bit of digging, and I found this from May 16th of 2018. Cory Miller says from Austin, "I ask this with genuine curiosity. Why is there so much interest in the royal family?" Now, what I did not pull...
That's some good investigative work there.
Oh, we're just getting started. So there are 15 comments on this. I actually don't remember what people were talking about, but do you have any theories? I mean, it's clearly some people gave you some feedback. It doesn't sound like you've come to a conclusion on why that is.
I don't know. I think that we live in a democracy here. We haven't had this like royal family overseeing or as a part of the United States. And I think we're just so curious about that. I don't know what that is. I really don't. Because like I said, I'm not in the least bit interested in that. It just seems to be something that's a phenomenon across the U.S. People love it. They dig it. They love it.
We actually joked about this on a previous episode about that show, The Crown, on Netflix, which my wife was watching. Initially, I was like, you can watch that show. Like, have fun with it. It doesn't really interest me. Yeah. And then I'm walking behind her, and I'm like, what is this? She's like, oh, you watching? I'm like, no. I walk away. But like I'm in the kitchen, I kind of like poke my head around. I'm like, oh, wow. First of all, it's visually stunning. Set design is great. Film nerd here. But it is actually kind of interesting to see this this like all-consuming obsession with this one family. I think it's more so the curiosity of like what happens behind the scenes. And I know that's been a huge part of like the royal family trying to bridge that gap with the everyday person. Showing here, look, we're just like you. We're normal people like you. I don't know.
Not really.
I'm not totally sold on it. Yeah.
A government stipend for living expenses.
Yeah, which I guess now what Harry and what's her name, Meghan? Yeah, they're supposed to be like bucking that tradition and doing their own thing.
Drop the royal title. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen these memes of like.
So I've heard. I haven't done any research.
You seem to know a lot of information about this. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've seen like these memes of them like 5 days after defecting from the United Kingdom, and they're like in a box, like living on the street, just like begging for money. So hopefully that's not the case. We wish them all the best in case they see this. I'm sure they're probably big viewers, so I want to make sure we're respectful of the royal family. We apologize. Tell me a little bit about what you think are some of the biggest challenges that companies that you speak to are experiencing when they think about building their own sales team. So like that's kind of the fundamental intersection that they're at when they get onto your radar. They're like, well, we could build this on our own. It's like that build versus buy. We could build this on our own, pros and cons, bug in the windshield, or we could turn to a team of experts like JumpCrew also some bug in the windshield type scenarios there. Like, what are they not thinking about that they should be, or what can they expect if they want to take on that project on their own?
Yeah, great question. I think a lot of times it comes down to a few things. I think that it is the time that they're willing to spend, right, investing in their internal sales organization. I mean, it's one thing to have the financial resources behind it, but it also is going to mean that they're going to spend a lot of their time, focusing their energy on that. I think just sales expertise. Not everybody has all of the sales expertise needed to make this happen and really scale, right? I think the companies that I talk to the most, they've started with their sales outreach program. They've gotten it to a certain threshold, and they're unable to grow it from there. And I think it's a combination of those things: time, expertise, and really investing in the resources. When it comes to HR, legal, finance, talent acquisition, somebody has to interview and hire these people. They've got to provision their tools. They've got to oversee their success or lack of success day to day. And, what happens when that employee leaves and you've got to start that process over. And so I think that's really the gap that we fill. We've got a proven, we say it a lot, it's people, processes, and technology here. And so, for worst case scenario, we can be plugged in, and we're experienced in this. We know how to deal with it and continue to move the train down the tracks.
Because you can't commoditize a salesperson to a certain point. Like, I think that's where sometimes the conversation can land, is whether a lot of people say, I could hire somebody for a lot cheaper. I could control them. I could have them here on site. And that's not incorrect, sure. But I think it's all of those intangibles that you mentioned that don't oftentimes get factored into that thought process. There's a guy named Naval Ravikant, who's, I think, one of the founders of AngelList. He's like an investor. And he used to say something like, he put a hourly dollar amount on his time. He was like, okay, what is a dollar amount that I will not do anything for less than this dollar amount? And it's an interesting exercise too, as you think about, like, okay, sure, I could hire some bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid right out of school. He's got a good attitude. Now that's step one, if you can find them, first and foremost. That's the tricky part. There's a whole pipeline of just applicant development on the front end that is in and of itself a huge challenge. I mean, there's businesses built specifically to just solve that problem. And that's step one. And then you've got everything that comes after that. And we've done it dozens and dozens and dozens of times. But there's a lot of unknowns there that somebody speaking to you may not have experienced before. Yeah,
I think most people that I speak to, they're asking the price of a salesperson. We really don't envision it this way, right? What is the price for all of the resources to enable that salesperson's success is the way that I think about it, right? So when we are giving them our price points, it is the price points for the entire package, all of the resources, because it takes a village at the end of the day to consistently grow market share, quarter over quarter.
Cool.
You might have a good month or two, but if anything goes awry, whether it be product, whether it be salespeople leaving, the cost to spin up sales reps is a significant expense to start over. And I think that's one of the gaps that we fill.
Yeah, that's interesting. So in the spirit of the 50/50 show,
yes,
we've been thinking a lot about ways that we can introduce some new segments to the show, and you get to be our guinea pig first time around for what we are going to do for the very first time ever, which is our Would You Rather speed round. Okay? So here's how this is going to work. I have a handful of Would You Rather questions. We're going to go through them as quickly as we can. Try not to think about it as much as possible.
Okay.
Just try to give me an answer. I think we've got about 10 of them.
Okay.
And we may very well circle back on some of them and dig a little bit deeper because you may need to explain yourself.
Let's do it.
Most of these are safe for work, I believe. So here we go. But who cares? This is a 50/50 show. There's no standards here. Okay, call me FCC. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Would you rather be the funniest person in the room or the most intelligent?
Funniest.
Would you rather reverse one decision you make every day or be able to stop time for 10 seconds every day?
Stop time for 10 seconds every day.
Would you rather win 50 grand or let your best friend, Jaron, win 500 grand?
Man, I sound like a jerk for this. 50 grand.
Yeah, I think something. Would you rather get away with lying every time or always know that someone else is lying?
Get away with lying.
Nice. Good to know. Would you rather only be able to whisper or only be able to shout?
Whisper.
Hi, it's me, Cory. Yeah, I'm the worst person to demonstrate that right now. Would you rather live without music or TV?
Music.
Ooh, savage.
I know.
Yes.
That's crazy.
We'll talk
I might
about
take that one back.
We'll talk about that later. Would you rather lose all of your teeth or all of your hair?
Hair.
Yeah, I think that's probably.
Yeah.
I think you have the head shape to rock.
I don't know. That's nice of you.
I think you could.
That's nice of you.
No one has the head shape to rock. No teeth. Your head shape, your bone
You're done.
can't help you there.
You're done.
Yeah. Would you rather have a permanent splinter under your big toenail or have a permanent bad haircut?
Splinter.
Okay, last question. Would you rather look 10 years older from the neck up or 10 years older from the neck down?
Neck down.
Good. Actually, that was the shortest amount of time it took for you to make a decision out of all of those questions. That's amazing. I love that. So, which one do we want to dig back into? Would you rather only whisper? Oh no, rather win 50K or 500. We got that one. That was pretty straightforward. Oh, rather get away with lying or always know that someone has lied. That's
I think I don't want to know what people are.
I either, man.
I'd rather not.
That.
Yeah.
Like that. What do they call that when like you can hear other people's thoughts?
Yeah, isn't there a movie about that with Mel Gibson?
That's What Women Want.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
another great movie.
Yeah.
Not in my top 10.
Right.
Only watch for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
but it's an entertaining
But
movie.
it sounds terrible to
wouldn't
know
even
exactly what people are thinking.
Yeah.
And maybe about you.
Yeah.
That'd be awful.
Dude, look, I worry enough day to day about what other people think of me, let alone being able to hear their own thoughts and then just justify all of my own assumptions and drive me deeper into self-pity.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you do for fun outside JumpCrew?
I got my dog. I love to take him to the dog park. I love being outside. One of my favorite places around Nashville is Edwin Warner Park.
Okay.
With all the trails and all the, I love being outside. So that's one of my sanctuaries.
Sanctuary.
Yes. I love being outdoors. I love it. That's probably my favorite thing to do. Canoeing, camping, all that good stuff.
Okay.
That's my thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in a good spot for it.
Yeah.
Nashville has everything you would ever possibly need.
Campgrounds, lakes, everything around here.
I mean, that's a huge part of why I think so many people move here. I mean, we've got 100 people moving to Nashville every day. It's the last stat that I heard. A lot of transplants from New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, you name it. All these big markets that come here because cost of living is great. Mm-hmm. No state income tax. That doesn't suck. Mm-hmm. The cities come along so much where there's all the restaurants, nightlife, stuff to do you could ever need. Great any season of the year. Spring, summer, winter, fall is always something to do. And then you've got a lot of things within a reasonable driving distance.
I was going to say that's one of the bigger ones. You can get anywhere pretty quickly, and both of us have lived in larger cities where traffic is horrendous. I lived in Austin, which Austin isn't as bad as LA where you've lived, but yeah, I mean, you can get around pretty easily around here. For now.
Well, we're fortunate because Nashville has come a long way. It's feeling more like a front runner in the U.S. is like a big hot city. It used to be a lot different, but now it kind of feels like we're in the first world of of new cities.
Didn't they get the number 2 place to work?
Yes, correct.
Recently.
And I think one of the top places to live or something like that for 2020. Speaking of first world, you said something interesting on March 22nd of 2019. You said, just got a wireless charging pad for the iPhone. Now that I think about it, what challenges did the wired charging unit create? If anything, using my phone and charging it simultaneously is now a challenge.
It's really difficult.
Yeah, tell us about this.
So I've got this charging pad. It's on the surface, right? It just sits on a table or whatever. Every time I want to use my phone, my phone is the power is low, but I have this charging pad in my recliner. So it's sitting on the edge of my recliner. That's where I sit and watch TV. So I'm holding the charging pad up against my phone,
like a little pancake.
You got this little. Hold it with 2 hands.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what are we trying to do? Sometimes technology makes things a little more difficult when they were meant to be easier, but it's just not.
God, our lives, man, they're super tough. Really tricky. My first world challenge as of late has been, and I'm open to feedback here because there may be some other ways to do it. Is with my AirPods. Is there a way to increase the volume or decrease the volume without having to do it on my phone? Because that's where I've been having a huge challenge. When I looked at the settings, it looked like there was only either a way to skip forward or skip back by tapping it, but I don't know how to
You're actually right. Never mind.
I have to take it out every time. Which seems to defeat the purpose.
Oh,
or
man.
Hey Siri.
What lives we live in.
Hey Siri.
Savages.
I know, honestly.
Oh my gosh.
Things are tough for all of us. What do you see as being like the next stage of JumpCrew? You know, that we're changing all the time. You've seen a lot here in even just a short amount of time. You know, what do you think is the next chapter for us? What does that look like for you?
You know, I think we are in a position where we can support clients at different growth phases of their business, whether you are pre-revenue, whether you're bootstrapping the business, you don't have any salespeople, or you are a large enterprise business, maybe a major logos is some of those, you know, the clients that we support. I think getting more into the large enterprise business and supporting that, starting with, you know, 5, 10, 15 reps at a time, is I think where we can take our business. That's kind of off the top. I'm not sure where we're going, but I think that's probably where we could head.
You know, one place that we could potentially head after this or even this evening is Olive Garden. What are your thoughts on Olive Garden?
So you may or may not know that I worked at Red Lobster for 5 years.
I did not know that.
Which is owned by Darden, who owns Olive Garden. So I have spent many a nights at Olive Garden at a 25% discount, I might tell you.
We've joked about a lot of potential sponsors on this show.
Really?
If we could maneuver Darden, is that the name of the company?
Yeah.
To sponsor this show, that would be...
It's the parent company.
Like
yeah.
Instead, we'll replace this with a basket of breadsticks.
Some breadsticks or some cheesy biscuits?
We're looking at you, Olive Garden and Darden. And those cheesy biscuits from Red Lobster are choice, man.
Yes.
All right, so we'll get to work on that. Thank you so much for joining this episode of the 50/50 Show. Thank you, Cory, for a fantastic
conversation. Thank you for having me.
In the event that Darden doesn't sponsor us, we always have Sepasol, keeping Jaron from sounding like he's been smoking for 30 years for the past 30 minutes. See you next time.